All right, welcome back inside Studio A here in the Comcast building. We're right next door to Sports Authority Field at Mile High. We just saw all the championship highlights. Time to break it down. What does it all mean? And to do that, happy to be joined by Neil Devlin of Denver Post, Gerry Valerio of MaxPreps. All right, guys, let's start in Class 3A and down at Dutch Clark Stadium in Pueblo as Rifle and Pueblo East and the Eagles get the first ever state championship in the school history. And boy, the town of Pueblo, they have to be thrilled, Neil.
There couldn't have been a better place for a setting that is not neutral site, if you ask me, because Pueblo is a wonderful high school sports town. And for those guys, the Eagles, to do it. Gabe Ramirez, the head coach, for me is a viable, serious Coach of the Year candidate. There's no doubt about it. And they beat a good physical rifle team. Bryson Torres, an 80-yard touchdown run. I mean, Martin, the quarterbacks, are really good. I mean, beginning of the year, would you really have said, well, yeah, Pueblo East is going to win the 3A championship? I don't think a lot of people, thought that.
And not many years ago. I mean, if you remember back to like the mid-2000s, they won 3 games in a 4-year stretch. I mean, he really started from nothing.
They compete for kids down
there.
Well,
I know exactly. And you got continued success by Pueblo West and Pueblo South down there. That was a ultimate rebuilding job that he did. Rick Upchurch was even there for a couple of years and couldn't get it turned around. Now he came in and they're winning championships.
We need that segment in high school sports down there. I mean, we've already lost a 5A contingent in Pueblo. We're on the verge of losing it in the Springs, possibly in Grand Junction. I mean, they were flirting with it to a degree in Fort Collins. We need Pueblo representation on the highest class that we can get. It's important to high school sports as a state.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a great high school sports town down there in Dutch Clark. Nearly 9,000 fans taking out beautiful weather in Pueblo East. Gets the first state championship in the school histories in the sport of football. School opened back in 1955. All right, let's go to the action that was played next door and start with the 4A game and Pine Creek, Longmont, all Pine Creek in this one. Gerry, I think we all believed at the start of the season the Eagles were the team to beat, and, well, we all believed right.
Yeah, it was Pine Creek and then everybody else who was going to be kind of fodder for them in the championship game. And that's nothing to take away from Longmont. Obviously, a tremendous season for them, but just too big and too physical and too fast all around for Pine Creek. And, they are the standard now for 4A football. 3 state championship games in 4 years, and Todd Miller and the Eagles have it rolling. There's no reason to think that that's going to slow down anytime soon.
Isn't it funny? 3 years ago, Valor just crushes Pine Creek, scores 66. The year before they went to 5A, and now Pine Creek is just thumping everybody in 4A. And you're right. I mean, Longmont getting there, I think, is a surprise of sorts for a lot of people and stuff. Coach Johnson up there. Both Coach Johnson and the other one at Thunder, those guys do great jobs, and they play tough guy football, and they're good for kids and everything like that. And he did another fabulous job, including throwing the ball around and stuff. But I mean, Pine Creek's too good. I mean, that's 25 in a row now. Someone's gonna have to deal with these guys and take them down. And who's it going to be? We're not sure.
Well, and the success will continue to build success. The kids in the Colorado Springs area who were serious about football and want to play for a good program, where are they going to go? They're going to go to Pine Creek. And, they're going to be tough to deal with for years to come. They only had 16 seniors this year, a lot of talent returning. There's no reason to think that there's going to be much of a drop-off.
I agree. They've got it going on. I mean, they're the ones that the kids are going to want to go there.
Yeah.
It's all done in a home now, and you can't blame them for that. We are supposed to be a school of choice state. We should have some leeway where kids can go. And I mean, right now, Pine Creek is the place to go in Colorado Springs. And make no mistake, Colorado Springs gets talent, Gerry, across the board. They really do. And so many of these games and events and everything like that, there's talent down there. And right now it's going to Pine Creek.
Yeah, and Pine Creek's a beautiful school. It's on the newer side. Boy, it has a great vista of the Air Force Academy and Pikes Peak. And then you have a guy like Todd Miller, who obviously can coach and get the job done. They were physical. I think at the end of the day, they were just, Gerry, more physical than any team at the classification.
Well, it looked like early Longmont's speed was going to maybe be a factor. They were doing some things, having success early, and then Pine Creek just started pounding on them. 500 yards rushing yesterday, and they really could do whatever they wanted to yesterday up front on both sides of the ball. I mean, you and I talked about in the middle of the third quarter when Longmont finally crossed midfield offensively. In a championship game,
not good.
The team doesn't cross midfield until the middle of the third quarter. That was some performance.
Well, when they started and they were throwing the ball a little bit, I thought, okay, now if you guys can do this, You can negate their pass rush and stuff like that, maybe move the ball down on the field. At least give them something to think about, make them chase you around a little bit, and interrupt their flow of offense, because as I think we've all seen, like not only yesterday, but throughout the course of 2 years, really, once it gets rolling, it's very difficult to stop.
Yep.
Because, for one thing, we don't have enough physical play from other teams to be able to deal with these guys. I mean, the one offensive lineman, Parker Hammond, he is the nephew of former Fairview stud Scott Lockwood, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, so they have a little bit of that too. But you know, Miller knows what he's doing. Now, can he sustain it for how much longer? I think will be interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned him. He'll be off to Air Force coming up next year.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations to Pine Creek again, back-to-back state championships. And hey, what a run by Doug Johnson's team. They started off 1-3. They were able to pick themselves up and make a run to the state championship game. They got revenge over Fort Collins and Broomfield on the way, but end of the day, they just ran into a better team. All right, 2-5A. Boy, what a classic matchup, guys. You get Cherry Creek, you get Valor Christian, Creek the old guard. You have Valor, the new kids on the block, and Cherry Creek wins it. Neil, kind of rank the game overall in terms of championship games you've seen.
Well, for one thing, I was actually right for once, because, like, you know, as you know, these electronic people are so unforgiving. Who's going to win, and you know, all this stuff. And I felt that the two undefeated teams, you know, Grandview and Ralston Valley, were going to go down in the semifinals to Valor and Creek, and then I thought Creek would win. I just, you know, just looking at them and just say they're going to win. But in the overall scheme of things, that's really right up there. You know, Logan was involved in another one that I saw. 1996, when Darnell McDonald was a senior, had 5 touchdowns, 333 yards rushing. He could have had 6 touchdowns. He led up. You know, Arvada West had Cutlip as a junior, because they came back the next year and won it. You know, that's up there. The Columbine teams, I think, when they beat the first one after the tragedy, the shooting, the massacre, they won 21-14 over Cherry Creek, which I think was uplifting for everybody as well. If you look at the championship games for big schools in the last, well, the 35 years that I've been here, we really haven't had that many that tight of that ilk. This one definitely is up there. There's no doubt about it, because if nothing else, they beat on each other. And that's one thing that, you know, Gerry and I talk about all the time, is that the Centennial League gets athleticism and they get talent and stuff, but people don't realize these guys are physical, and man, they beat on each other. And that's exactly how the Bruins won yesterday. They beat on Valor, which is hard to do.
Absolutely. And, you know, that fourth quarter alone, you know, puts this game up in, you know, in that territory. You had, what, 3 touchdowns within 40 seconds yesterday to really swing things back and forth. And
29-point fourth quarter.
Yeah. It was the game that everybody wanted to see. They were hoping to see. Whether it ever materializes, but like you said, 2 heavyweights going at each other, and it couldn't have been a better inning.
And don't forget, I mean, Bruins beat Eagles twice in a span of 6 weeks, no less, month and a half. Okay, we haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, you know, that was kind of the game that I don't want to say maybe turned around Cherry Creek's season, but it certainly sparked something. It ignited something. They snapped the Eagles' 28-game in-state win streak, and Cherry Creek, I thought physically was better than everybody the rest of the year. They really manhandled Regis, who I thought was very good this year. Yeah, well, they did twice, start of the year, and then of course in the playoffs, and then they did it to Ralston Valley. I mean, it seemed like that win against Valor gave Creek the confidence and momentum they needed.
Well, I think the two significant victories over the established powerhouse, and I think we're going to see a burgeoning rivalry for years to come. These two programs will be focused solely on each other, I think, for these next few years. And you know, people are anybody but Valor. Now it's you know, Creek is risen up and taken that step, and you know, be careful what you wish for. Sleeping Giant is now back up, and we knew Dave Logan was going to build a championship team there at some point. And now these two teams are going to do some really tough things in the next few years.
Let me tell you what. After losing to Jordan, Utah, from Sandy, Utah, after week 3, Bruins were 1-2. It didn't look good. Okay, the quarterback position was in disarray totally. Okay, Dave was frustrated. I know he was frustrated. Okay, they put Joe Kaplis in there and went with him, and I got to give this kid credit. Okay, because he went in there and stabilized that quarterback position. He didn't have to do anything spectacular. He had Milo Hall back there. He had DJ Luke back there. They got some other people back. They have Joseph Parker. They have that terrific defense. by him handling things at quarterback and keeping the turnovers and mistakes to a minimum, and then him being, effective at times, particularly rolling out, throwing the ball, those guys took off. Now, they took a hit against Grandview when they only scored 2 field goals and lost 24-6, but right after that, they handle Valor, and then, they get Eagle Crest after that, which was also very good, by the way, almost beat Ralston Valley, and then they cruised to the playoffs. I mean, this team evolved and developed and learned on the fly greatly. They did a great job, and people forget they were really good on defense, and their offensive line was underrated as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you talk about Capitalist. You and I had a lot of conversations about him, and he was, I thought, to me, was the big question mark in the playoffs. Would he be able to make a play when they needed to? And largely yesterday, he managed the game really well. Didn't make that mistake that really hurt Creek, but then he ended up making up, to me, the biggest play of the game on the play action pass when they found Joseph Parker deep against the best defensive player in the state. Went against him.
Also scored on a 1-yard touchdown run too, as well.
Yeah.
Their next to last touchdown, he scored that. And I mean, it's not to say, let's be clear on that. He took the position, and he managed the game and all that kind of stuff now. But he was smart enough to realize that, hey, man, I'm playing with this offensive line. This defense is on my side. I have Milo Hall. I have DJ Loco. I have Joseph Parker and those guys. Why don't I use them? That's smart football. You know what I mean?
I think there's a good chance as we move forward in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, we're going to see more of Valor Christian and Cherry Creek in that state title game. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll get you on here in a few months, break down the basketball championships.
All right, thanks for having us.
All right, that's Gerry Valerio and Neil Devlin. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come right back here on the Xfinity Sports Report. We'll talk some high school wrestling. Tim Ottman joins us in studio when we return.